Ladies and gentlemen, we are live to talk about what we were talking about on Friday and almost talked about Monday, which was yesterday. Yes, that's how time works. To continue that whole discussion, just for fun, just for at least a little bit, because there's so much to go through, and there was definitely some interest from all of you wonderful people to hear a little bit more about it from me, a very angry person. Team Skeptic is here. Team Skeptic, how's it going? How you doing? I'm not interrupting anything, am I? Hope not. Also, I have some things for you if you need them. There's a story that I don't necessarily want to be involved in, but I have information on if you are interested in putting out a story on our favorite constitutional law scholar. It's a little off-brand for me. But you seem to be pretty motivated to go in the direction, I think, of this. If not, it disappears. I don't care, because I will not be putting it out. But I'm not going to hide my involvement, if that helps. Hi, everybody. Let me get through some disclaimers. I have some big announcements as well. A big announcement. Which there will be more information on, hopefully, in the future. Disclaimers. This is not my usual live stream. It's 2 in the afternoon for me. I don't know what time it is for all of you. Might be a weird time. I don't know. So we're just going to roll with it, see what happens. I don't know if it's going to be for 2 hours, like it usually is. I will not be drinking the apple juice today because it's a Tuesday. I do try to limit that to Fridays, or maybe I'll have a little sippy sip if I'm a guest on somebody else's thing. So, hello. That's come out of the way. Second disclaimer. First 10 minutes is me letting people trickle in, since it is a weird time for me to be doing this. And I didn't exactly announce it well beforehand. We're doing the normal 10 minutes, because of course we are. We always do it anyway. If you're wondering why I haven't got into the topic within the first 10 minutes of this video, if you're watching after the fact, or if you're watching right now, that is the reason why. Now, speaking of, if I'm just getting off topic, or I'm not on topic, or I've never been on topic, it's pretty common for me to go off on tangents. It's very, very common. In fact, some of my viewers intentionally try to make it happen. I don't hate them for it. I just hate them. Not for that, though. I'm kidding. You guys are wonderful. You guys are wonderful. It's always great to talk to you. If I'm going too slow, if I'm going too fast, skip forward, skip backwards, slow it down, speed it up, do what you need to do if you're watching this out of the fact. It might not be for you. I had someone, every once in a while, someone will comment, like, what is this content? I'm like, it's my Friday content. I have other content. If you don't like my content in general, there are other channels. Have a nice day. Like, I don't know what you want from me. I'm doing this because I enjoy it. I'm not going to stop enjoying it so that you can enjoy it. Cool. You'd think it would make sense, folks. You'd think. But it's lovely to have all of you here, of course. What else do I have? Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm not going to be streaming on Friday. I told you guys that either yesterday or Friday. I am having a little bit of a vacation. So, yeah, I will not... I'll try to stream from the vacation, say hi to everybody, but no promises. It's going to be a good one. You'll see. Don't want to give too many details just yet. But, yeah. Ooh, Daryl Brooks, apparently a Sobs hit. I did not know that. I will check my Twitter for the first time in a while. Let's see. People are being very generous already. Oh, speaking of generosity, if you want to be generous, if you want to support the stream, again, we're not doing the coin flip today. We could figure something out. But not doing the coin flip. But I will thank all of you wonderful people being here. Thank you, a bunch of you, for subscribing in the last 12 hours, and some of you just now. Lovely, very wonderful. Why isn't it? There we go. James K, thank you so much. What is this content? I don't know. You'd think I know. Ha! Chille's car, thank you so much. Weird time, weird guy is the topic, which is pear. Stroke Assaulter, welcome to the Bacon Bits. And Sherry, welcome to the Bacon Bits as well. Good to have you both here. Are those my usual disclaimers? I feel like I got through them kind of quickly. We're almost at 5 minutes, so we're doing all right. Hi, everybody. I don't know if I need to slow down the chat just yet. We'll keep an eye on it. If we start needing the chat slowed down, let me know. and I'll try to figure out how to do it every single time. I always forget how to do it. But big announcement. I had the idea last night after I finished streaming on Twitch. Wouldn't it be funny if there's a video game unrelated to Chille? Unrelated, about some sort of legal scholar chasing you around throwing, I don't know, pamphlets at you. Maybe they fold into 3 sections. Not trifolds, that's ridiculous, just pamphlets. And you had to escape them. So I started working on that. So that might be a thing. I'm covering most of the development on my Patreon. I have created a very special, brand new Patreon tier, which is $1. If you feel like supporting this game, $1 a month. It'll motivate me to actually finish it or do, I don't know, make it actually interesting. We'll see. I can't promise anything. But you do get access to everything I've posted prior to now at the higher tiers. Well, a lot of the higher tiers, not all the higher tiers, but most of you. You'll get access to most of the stuff I posted in the past. It will not guarantee you access to everything that is not related to the game in the future. But if you feel like supporting that, at least just $1 a month. See what happens. My Patreon, I believe, is in my description. Might not be in my description. That's fine. I'll put out a post later, giving you more details on it and showing you some of the work that has been done as of last night. So, there's that. As long as it's not a board game. He has called dibs on that. That is true. Maybe that's why I thought of it. I don't know. Just seemed like such a good idea at the time. I think it's still a good idea. I woke up and it was like, yep, still good. So, hooray. To the Patreon link, you're in. Let's see. This should be it, right? Yeah. Patreon.com/Sergeant Blue Bacon. Should be it. Any more proclamations today? Thank you, Mechanics, by the way. Almost certainly. Here, let me drop that old link right here for all of you hooligans. And, we still got a couple minutes. For those of you wondering what the proclamation bit is, I was hanging out with Keeping It Criminal. We were doing a stream. It was delightful. Can't wait to do that again with him, I hope. And I introduced the bacon bugle. Or not the bacon, the bologna bugle, which is this. And so if I'm calling bologna on something, we make it official by blowing into this. I'm not going to do it, though, because we don't have anything to make official bologna. You know, we got to wait, which it shouldn't take long because of the topic we're about to discuss, which are these 2 hooligans. We have Dennis Sperling, he's an actual lawyer. I did check. He's an actual lawyer. I know there was some speculation about, is he just a paralegal? No. He's a lawyer. He's the Blizzard King. And then Delete Laws, the man who spouts a bunch of nonsense. And Dennis Sperling here is convinced. Like, wow, you're an expert, pretty much. No, Dennis Sperling. And Dennis Sperling probably thinks this because Dennis Sperling has no idea what this case is. Oh boy, there's a lawsuit he wrote that I definitely want to go over in the future. Chille keeps putting out nonsense, though. Apparently, there's a video he put out last night, which is absolute insanity, so I might have to cover that this week. I might just do a bunch of streaming this week. I don't know, because I'm not doing it Friday. I might just have a good time. That way I don't have to worry about, like, making videos while I'm preparing for my vacation. I tell you, streaming is a lot easier than making the videos. Well, it's a lot less time-consuming. As much as I do like making the videos, because I can get out a lot more information a lot faster. Edit all the nonsense out. Etc., etc. Yeah, I don't know why the Blizzard King. Like, and I said this before, if my lawyer comes into the courtroom and is like, oh, yes, I am the Blizzard King, I'm going to be like, hey, Your Honor, can I get a different one? No, thank you. Perhaps one from Wendy's? Yeah, I stole someone's Dairy Queen joke in the comments. But he's been at it for 30 years. Now, I was corrected. He's been doing it for 22 years. He said he's going on 30 years, which does feel deceptively like he's trying to establish he's been doing it for 30 years. Or he said going on 3 decades. Technically, yes, he started... No. Well, he's on his 3rd decade, technically. He's 2 years in. It feels like a very deceptive way to say that. And I think he does that intentionally. 20 years is very impressive. You don't need to make it 30. You do not. he was doing it while driving? Of course he was. Ugh. This month is Blue Bacon. Are we talking about lawsuits? What are we talking about? Yeah, he hasn't sued me, by the way. Yet. Maybe the game will make him sue me for once finally. It's not about him, though. It's not about him. You know, round to the nearest 10. Yeah, which is nuts. 25 accounts law school. Now, I thought that as well, but then he said practicing law going on 3 decades, which does not count law school. I thought the same thing. But we're at the 10-minute mark, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to get into this. We're going to start at the 29-minute, 34-second mark, which is about where we stopped last time. And I'm just going to get mad. There are going to be a lot of pauses. If you want to watch this yourself, it's called Politics of Modern Men, Manosphere 3.0. It's on Dennis Sperling's channel. But I'm just going to be sassing. Just sassing. It's going to be tons of interruptions. I'm sorry if that's not your thing. You were warned. Also, Honey Badgeress, thank you so much for being a member and all that. Wish me well on my date with Ian, Hurricane Ian, that is. Hey, best of luck. Don't drown. Don't get blown away. Never been in a hurricane. Well, I've never been in a hurricane when it hits the land. I've never been, like, at that point. I've encountered hurricanes in my life. But, good luck. And then Into the Blue, MR. Mr. Bacon on this question, you think Chille will ever give up, like Serio did? You think he'll ever get hit with such a serious court case that he'll think enough? I don't know. I don't think he'll give up grifting. I think that's all he knows. But I think he might give up this grift once this is no longer sustainable. As long as he has a place to put that poster, I think he'll continue this one. But okay, let's say he does get sued, and they're like, you can't keep displaying this for whatever reason. You can't keep teaching this for whatever reason. I think he'll just move on to something else. Or he'll be like, the government silenced my free speech, and that's why you should give me money. Let me tell you about this. Something. Can you imagine him working for somebody else? I can't. Oh, I'd love to watch it happen, though. Anyway, let's get started and bring on the sass.
Common law. Now, the extension of the Terry versus Ohio is where this just gets absolutely freaking ill. This is ill. This is disgusting. This is really going to boil your blood because...
No, that just you. You're going to boil my blood. I don't think the case is because you're not right. You're not right about your cases, Chille. You're not.
Most of these guys over here, 90% of these guys over here are there because of Terry versus Ohio.
Dan Clement says Chille came in your chat before he went live and said he'll sue people for watching. I think that's the fake Chille, probably. Nobody sued me yet.
Or the extensions.
Now, what delete laws is pointing to are all the men that have been shot and killed by police officers over the past.
Yep, those are the only ones. There have been no other men that have been shot and killed by police. Come on. Now, I believe we've identified some people on that wall of people who were shot by police, right over there, as people who were lawfully shot for engaging in actions that police can lawfully shoot you for. Now, am I happy police are shooting people? Of course not. But are there certain courses of action that are going to get you shot by police and it's not going to be illegal? Yes. Consider not doing those. And if you want to know what those are, don't listen to Chille, because he'll just straight up lie to you about it. Gendrick Rogue, thank you so much. Says, hi, Blue. Are you ready to lose your marbles? I'm ready to lose my marbles. What few I have left. Very exciting. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Past several years. And
that's
either shot and killed or killed in custody, or murdered in custody. George Floyd is up there in the tight. You got, Breonna.
Murder generally implies that it was without lawful authority. Just for those wondering, because I had a discussion recently about murder, homicide, manslaughter. Whereas homicide is sort of a blanket term for manslaughter and murder, whereas murder has intent and homicide does not. No, sorry, manslaughter does not. Yes, I think that's right. Close enough.
Taylor in there, so...
Slay.
Now, but some of those were unlawfully killed by police. Sorry, interruptions, I know.
Yeah.
Michael Brown.
Right.
Eric Valencio.
And all of that is allowed, all that police contact occurred under the auspices of Terry versus Ohio.
Nope! That is incorrect. Breonna Taylor was not a Terry stop. Terry v. Ohio is police can detain you upon reasonable suspicion, which was not Breonna Taylor. And Taylor versus Ohio is also, while you are detained by police, they reasonably suspect you are carrying a weapon that may injure that police officer. They may pat you down over your clothing for weapons, nothing else. That's it. Breonna Taylor died because of no-knock raid. Now, we can all have opinions on the no-knock raid. I think that the information, if I remember correctly, the information given to accomplish that no-knock raid was possibly done falsely, which is a huge problem. That's not the same as a Terry stop originating from Terry v. Ohio. That's a completely different thing that falls under the Fourth Amendment that comes from a different case. In fact, we could probably look up the case if you don't mind. Do we have a case? We do have Wilson versus Arkansas. Which left it to the lower courts to determine the circumstances under which an unannounced entry is reasonable under the Fourth Amendment. Ah, okay. So this would be Ohio. Let's do Ohio Supreme Court. We're learning things. We have State versus Burroughs. It's 2022. There's a map. I know he's referenced that before. There's Quick Knock. Yeah, so Mapp versus Ohio is before Terry versus Ohio, for example, which is the exclusionary rule, which prevents prosecutors from using evidence in court that was obtained by violating the Fourth Amendment. I don't know if that has to do with a no-knock warrant. Knocking the door, force the door open, search warrant. I don't know. Okay, listen. I'd probably have to do it at the state level. I'm not going to do that to you guys right now because we're trying to get through a stream. So, I will say I do not believe Terry versus Ohio is the linchpin. I don't know if I should use linchpin. Is the foundation for no-knock warrants and raids and all that good stuff. Because I'm fairly confident it's not. They both detentions with reasonable search for weapons and no-knock warrants do stem from the Fourth Amendment, but I do not believe one branches off the other. It's just they have a what am I looking for? I'm looking for evolution. Chad, help me out. A common ancestor. It's like that, right? Anyway, sorry. Science. Interesting tidbit from Joshua Lee. Also, thank you, Joshua Lee. Let me check that, actually, because I am curious. What is this? This is Dennis. Oh, it's in California. He doesn't. This is Dennis F. Sperling. Dennis F. Sperling is dead. Good try, though. Oh, hi, Rennie. Hello. Yes, I ran into that a couple times where I went, wait a second, this is a different person. All right, back to the Blizzard King.
Let's not get emotional. Let me get to the So, Terry versus Ohio extends into a bunch of different things that directly affect.
Let me get rid of this music.
So the first one is going to be Pennsylvania versus Mims here. It's going to go directly to Pennsylvania versus Mims. Mm-hmm. And this is the one that says that you have to get out of the car. How come you got to get out of the car? In the name of officer safety. If they
you hear that? You hear that, guys? So Terry versus Ohio is the source of them saying you got to get out of your car.
And that actually might be true. If I can look up Pennsylvania versus Mims, and we can check that. There is a case I am familiar with. And I'm guessing they said something along the lines of, if a police officer, for their safety, can pat you down, there's no reason they can't also have you step out of the vehicle. Now, having you step out of the vehicle is not, I don't understand why that's a horrible, horrible thing. But let's do a quick Control F here. And normally I'd say read the entire case. I've read this entire case. Under the standards announced in Terry versus Ohio, whether the facts available to the officer at the moment of the seizure or the search warrant a man of reasonable caution, the belief that the action taken was appropriate, the officer justified in making the search. Okay, so Terry versus Mims. Words are hard. Terry versus Ohio is referenced in Pennsylvania versus Mims, and in the context, I actually could see it being used in the case of. I'm going to backtrack on a previous statement I made because I'm all about improving myself and trying to get the most accurate information out there. I could see it being in a case about no-knock warrants where they say Terry versus Ohio allowed a police officer to take certain actions based on their safety. And no-knock warrants are often conducted under certain circumstances for the purpose of making sure the officer is safe. For example, if an officer believes they will come under fire, right, if they have to knock on the door first. If I'm like knocking on some gangster's house and they got their Tommy guns out, see? They're what's up, coppers? Knocking on my door, eh? Right? then a no-knock warrant might be approved to get into that house for the search for the whatever without alerting the residents, because alerting the residents might give them time to pick up arms against the police officers, for example. So in that context, okay, I could see Terry versus Ohio being referenced. I'll allow that theory. I'm not stating it is correct, and I don't believe Chille actually elaborates. So, yes. Okay. I'll allow it, but I'll have to check some case law. You filthy animals. That's right. Okay, so let's keep going.
They pulled you over, and now you got to get out of your car and be what? Frisked and patted down.
Terry, stop.
How pissed off are you at this point? See, this is the
Whoa,
thing.
whoa,
we lost.
whoa. Having someone step out of the car doesn't mean that it's a Terry stop. It's not really a Terry stop until you are frisked. If an officer asks me to step out of the car, it doesn't mean I'm getting frisked. Let's calm down, Uncle D, the Blizzard King, and delete laws. Not how that works. Can they do that? Yes. If they do that, then okay, it would become a Terry stop. A Terry traffic stop. I don't know. But if they don't pat you down, if they don't do the little frisk, no. Anyway.
We got a lot of folks from overseas. You know, I got a lot of guys in the UK. Shout out to all my guys down in the UK, all my truck drivers down there. They don't understand the American police system. So we got a
neither do these two.
Ohio, which basically says cops can run up on you and stop you for whatever damn reason they can think up when it's time to write.
Incorrect.
And from there, they say, well, not only can we stop you when you're walking, now we can stop you when you're driving, and we can pull you out of your car. We can pull you out of your car. And not only pull you out.
They can't stop you for no reason. They can't detain you for zero reason. They can make you step out of the car for any reason pursuant to a lawful traffic stop. Cool.
Out of your car when you're minding your business, but we can pat you down for whatever reason we think is reasonable. Okay, so this is imagine how pissed off you are at 5:30 in the afternoon. You've had a hard day of work. You're minding your business. You're on your way to the doggone water place to pay your bill, or your cell phone place. You're on your way to T-Mobile, and you're ready to go home, and then you got some cop who pulls you over, right? Because you look like somebody that looked like they did something.
You fit the description.
Okay, no, fitting the description generally isn't good enough. You have to. Let's say you fit the description of someone who ran or fled from a robbery. It's not just, oh, you were also of a similar look. It's generally going to have to be, you're driving a similar car. You're in the same area. It's the same time frame, right? If this is 2 hours later and you're 300 miles away, obviously that's not going to count. But, and I can confirm that, yes, sometimes you pull people over for being close to a description. We had a person on JBLM who was lighting dumpsters on fire. How many did they light? 17, I think? And it got to the point where we had been authorized to pull over any vehicle seen leaving that area due to the nature of this continue to happen, the danger to put people in. On a military installation, we were granted the authority, I believe by the base commander, under probably 50 U.S.C. 797, to detain anybody purely to get their information in case evidence came up that tied them to it in more detail. Now, civilian law enforcement, it would be a little more tricky than that. They don't have 50 U.S.C. 797, which is a federal statute that allows the commander of a military base to implement certain security rules to ensure the safety of the installation. Obviously, lighting a bunch of structures on fire, because it wasn't like you light these dumpsters, it's next to a building. This guy was facing, I think, 85 years max sentence. He cried in the interrogation room. It was very embarrassing. We were kind of like rooting for him, kind of like we wanted to catch him, but like, he's gonna be this tough. Can't wait to say. Nah, he cried. It was never meet your heroes. I'm kidding. He's not my hero, but just Anyway, so it's not just you match the description. The fact that an attorney, right there on the left, Sperling, doesn't correct that. Well, that is concerning to me. You know what I'm saying? So Mel Ronderos, thank you so much, by the way, says when ambulance chasers and Yahoo University scholars collide. That sounds about right. Yes.
You fit the description. So this is where we are, folks. Now imagine being a black man, or or a Hispanic man for that matter, or an Arab guy,
or white guy,
or a white guy,
Careful.
especially a poor-looking white guy. Imagine that, and now you're pissed, and they're telling, well, come on out, I'm gonna pat you down for my safety as a cop. But go ahead.
No, it's not. Get out of the vehicle so I can pat you down for my safety. It's get out of the vehicle for a variety of reasons, one of which can be that. And yes, they can, in fact, do that. Wow.
Take it from there. Go ahead. I'm just painting a colorful picture, and you go ahead and stick a pin in it with these cases. Go ahead.
It's on my trifold on deletelaws.com.
His trifold is absolute trash.
Because you have to be a reasonable and prudent man who would believe that I'm both armed and dangerous.
Well, Chille, you say that you carry a weapon on you and that you are a dangerous person and that you could take anyone down. So a reasonable and prudent man would believe that you are a threat. If I was an officer, I pulled you over knowing what I know about you and the fact that you are often armed. You've shown this on video. You've made statements about it verbally. You've made claims that you are a threat, that you could take on any officer, and that if you wanted to fight an officer, they would not be able to beat you. I would have you step out of the vehicle and I would pat you down for that reason. Not because you look like a poor white man. You don't look like a poor white man. You look like a white man, and we know that you're poor. I wouldn't say that you give off that look, right? He takes care of himself reasonably well. But if I'm the facts that I can establish, that I will use to establish to pat you down, are going to pretty much be what I've just said. Getting out of the vehicle, though, that could be something as simple as, hey, we're on the side of a highway, and I don't want to speak to you 2 inches from traffic, so I'm going to have you step out so we can talk over by the guardrail. It can be that simple. Now, that doesn't give me the authority to pat you down at that point, unless you start sort of tugging at your pockets. Right? If you keep putting your hands in your pockets, I'm going to pat you down to make sure there's nothing in those pockets. But absent that, it's not an automatic thing. We've learned something today. Too bad Chille won't.
For you to ask me to exit the car. So that's my defense. When the cop says get out of the car, I say, a reasonable and prudent man, and I give him the exact case law of Pennsylvania versus Mims. I know it right there. And
then, no. Pennsylvania versus Mims established that police can have you step out of the vehicle for any reason. Let me look this up for all of you, because this is kind of a big deal. People get in a lot of trouble for getting this wrong. Someone's saying they really like my search music. Same. I'm very happy that I have it. I love it. A lot of dead air. Let's see. Safety. Objective safety. The hazard of accidental injury from passing traffic to an officer standing on the driver's side of the vehicle may also be appreciable in some situations. Rather than conversing while standing exposed to moving traffic, the officer prudently may prefer to ask the driver of the vehicle to step out of the car and off onto the shoulder of the road, where the inquiry may be pursued with greater safety to both. As I said, if I can articulate that, if traffic is passing by, on a highway, it can be that simple. That's from Pennsylvania versus Mims, the case that I presume Delete Laws has never read. And I also presume the Blizzard King, the attorney, has also not read. Because for me, this is a huge case. This is an incredibly important case, as is Terry versus Ohio. Because it establishes what I need to do some aspects of my job that are very, very common. And so if I know these cases, it's going to set me up for success. Not that it will guarantee success, but it will give me that little step ladder to reach for it, Something as simple as, there's traffic on this road, we better step off out of the way so I don't get struck by it. I had a history teacher, great history teacher. Love that guy. Wonderful guy. He was killed because his car broke down, and he got out of his vehicle, and maybe he was pushing it. I'm not exactly sure what was happening. He might have been pushing it, and someone came and just smacked him. They just killed him. So to presume that an officer isn't likely to face that exact same problem is ridiculous. Hold on, Rennie's sending me a thing that I've asked for about Ohio's no-knock stuff. Perfect. Rennie, are you able to establish that Terry vs. Ohio is related in any way? Because now that he's gone through some stuff, I can see it being related. I just want to check. I don't want to put some work on you that you can't do right now. It's just that if you're able to, while we're here, might as well. Anyway, let's keep going, shall we? Also, Joshua Lee, thank you so much for being a member. Of course, his apologies for the incorrect info. This guy is a licensed attorney. Still won't help Chille win, though. Oh, God, no. And then Techline versus Danforth. Or Techi. I forget how it's actually pronounced. I know I've been pronouncing it wrong. Yeah, that's that. Who went? Oh, someone went over that. It might have been Merb. Went over that and just destroyed him. Let me get through. You guys are being nice to me. Thank you. Alex Sargent, thanks so much. Says, me don't understand law, therefore bad. That's a quote from Chille, allegedly. Love it. Create laws. Okay. Got me there. That was yes. That's good. The Blizzard King has a snow plowing service. It's good. All right. Boop, 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 beep, boop, boop. There we go.
Then I say, if you violate my rights, I will sue your ass to oblivion.
And you're allowed to sue. It doesn't mean you're going to win, because it's not a violation of your rights. It's very rare for it to be a violation of your rights for an officer to, in a lawful traffic stop, ask you to step out of the vehicle. It's so easy to articulate that. So easy.
Now, here's the thing, delete laws. Here's the thing. Armed and dangerous does not necessarily mean a gun. It could mean a pencil, a sharp pencil.
That's actually true. Oh, sorry. I'm on the wrong foot pedal. If I was John Wick and I had a pencil and I was twirling my fingers, that could be armed and dangerous. However, they are also getting it wrong. That's not all about armed and dangerous. At least as far as having someone step out of a vehicle goes. And there are certain weapons, if you have it, you are presumed dangerous, whether or not you are actually dangerous. You know, if I was like, I'm an old grandma, if I have like a bazooka on me, I'm presumed dangerous. Also, where did you get that bazooka, grandma? You know? Anyway.
Pencil. You see what I mean? So look how ticky-tack they can, you can have a doggone pocket knife or a hunting knife or a fishing knife, and they can just make, you see what I mean? So
you can kill someone with those. Those are designed to cut flesh, or, well, yeah, a hunting knife, definitely. Fishing knife, sure, that counts as flesh, right? Pocket knife is designed to cut things, and guess what? You cut too deep into a person, for example, right? Oh, it's just a blade. It's just a knife. So this is a bayonet. It's designed to kill people, and you put it on the end of a rifle, or off the end of the rifle. And yeah, smaller than this. Anything more than like 3 inches is considered deadly in a lot of places, because 3 inches is about the distance that you need to penetrate into a body to hit an organ, at which point it could very easily kill you. Anything smaller than that is generally going to be something more akin to blood loss, which is still not great. I mean, this would definitely be a dangerous weapon. I can't bring this out in public. Also, it's from World War I, so I wouldn't bring that in public. It's a nice little thing. Also, this is when I didn't have scissors. I need to cut things. We're doing a mystery stream. Anyway, I digress.
Especially down here in Texas, they just making up stuff. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a gun.
It's not made up.
It just opens the door. But remember, going back to Terry versus Ohio. Terry versus Ohio is the gateway.
Creates Pennsylvania versus Mims.
Exactly.
You know, if you do push back, make sure you stand strong and look confident, because he's not going to know Pennsylvania versus Mims is.
Probably not. So what's next? Yeah.
Most officers are familiar with Pennsylvania versus Mims, in my experience. That's a pretty common one for officers to know. An officer will not know every single case. There are certain cases where it's very much encouraged that they know, and some of them are actually taught in the academy. So, you know? Chille doesn't know that, though, because he has no idea what he's talking about. He refuses to do a ride-along. He refuses to take any real education and training that would teach him what he pretends to already know.
Now I can go. I'm going to skip a few years, because if you're the past.
That's right, Richard Cranium. You're welcome. Nah, babe, 3 inches is a dangerous weapon. I promise. It's not the size of the blade, man. It's how you stab with it. You gotta stab a lot, you know. Anyway, Sean Lockman Van Bennekom, recovering from hypertensive crisis. Oh, well, I'm glad you're recovering. Sent via ambulance to ER last week. Legit dog action for high blood pressure in office. Can you help me feel better? I'm glad. Hey, I'm gonna get my blood pressure high dealing with these hooligans, so that you don't have to. Just we're gonna, you know, just. It's not a trench knife. It's a it is a German Mauser bayonet. It's a Waffenfabrik Neuhausen bayonet from World War I. Is what this bad boy is. This is the bayonet. If you're familiar with my, if you remember my Jeremy DeWitt music video, the first one, where I'm talking about his attorney Amir, I say his attorney is working up a sweat, stabbing holes in the case. This is the bayonet I used to. I actually originally I was stabbing like this into the case, and I missed, and I hit my thumb. I cut myself good. Like, it wasn't deep, but it just, like, it tore the flesh. This isn't sharp, but it tore the flesh, and it took a while to heal. It was bad. Tasted a little bit of American blood there, haven't you, dude? It's fine. No, it's nice, though. They, yeah. Someone was, I think I got it for like $20. I was like, I will yoink. Thank you. It's very cheap for a World War I bayonet. Although some bayonets go for more than others, you know, of course. The fact that it doesn't have like a sheath does devalue it, which I'm okay with. This is just my walking around bayonet, you know? This isn't my fancy China. I digress.
Passenger in a car in the 2009 holding of Arizona versus Johnson. If you're the passenger in a car, if a reasonable and prudent man believes that the passenger of the car is armed and dangerous, as the passenger, you have to get out of the car. Arizona versus Johnson is an extension.
I don't know if it's that case, but yeah, if you're a passenger, the officer can have you step out of the vehicle too. Now, you don't necessarily have to identify yourself unless you are involved in the crime that is being investigated. So if it's just a traffic stop, if the driver has gone through a stop sign and you're a passenger, you generally, and like, be sure to check the law on this. I'm not a lawyer. Generally, no, an officer cannot require you to identify yourself for the investigation into running that stop sign. If there are other things that the officer determines to be possibly criminal, I'm trying to be careful with how I word this. For example, they look in the vehicle and there are open containers. Then you, as a passenger, might have to identify yourself because, per plain view doctrine, of course, police can. Well, it's not even plain view doctrine. Plain view doctrine is a different thing. If I'm talking specifically about exigent circumstances to warrants, which I'm not, I'm getting onto a tangent like this. Yeah, if it's just a traffic stop, just for traffic stuff, generally a passenger does not have to identify themselves. However, if during the traffic stop evidence of different criminal activity is discovered, that might change. Just so you know. I don't know if he's going to bring it up. I can tell you, though, that if an officer tells you the passenger step out of the vehicle during a traffic stop, then yes, you generally have to as well. And that very well could stem from, yeah, that probably does actually stem from Terry versus Ohio. It's Pennsylvania versus Mims. Does reference Terry versus Ohio. And then the case, I don't know if he's referring to the right one, so I hesitate to actually say it. The case that established the passenger also can be required to step out would stem from Pennsylvania versus Mims. So he's probably correct. He's just confused. He's got the spirit, but, oh, he's confused.
Terry versus Ohio.
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Hit the number 1 button if you heard that. Now, Terry versus Ohio. Not only can they stop drivers, if you look like you're armed and dangerous, they can.
Okay, that's not. You can't stop someone for looking armed and dangerous. That. Unless I see you like holding a rifle, like "Здравствуйте, comrade," as you know, it's my Kalashnikov. "Здравствуйте, koshka." It's pink. I have a friend who has a Hello Kitty. Russian. It's not a AK. It's very RPK maybe. It's pink and has a Hello Kitty sticker on it, and I call it the Здравствуйте, koshka, which is greetings cat as opposed to Hello Kitty. It's a very formal hello, Здравствуйте, as opposed to like Привет, which would be hi. Anyway, Russian. So yeah, if I'm like, oh, that person's like has a machine gun mounted on the top of their vehicle, they have someone in it. Yeah, I can pull you over for that. But if I'm just like, I don't like that mustache, it looks too much like a Dirk Dastardly. I think I have that right, kind of a thing, right? No, that you're. Dennis here is confusing a traffic stop with having someone step out of the vehicle, which is after the traffic stop. He's confused. Okay, it is RPK. Yes, the bigger AK. That's correct. Hello Kitty Russian. Yeah, no, it's a pink RPK with a Hello Kitty sticker, so I've started calling this Здравствуйте, koshka, just because I think it's hilarious. Anyway, yeah, they're confused, and I went off on a tangent because I enjoy it.
Bring you out your car and pat you down. But now they can also bring grandma out the car and pat her down because she looked armed and dangerous.
As long as the traffic stop is lawful, yes.
This is the gateway. Terry versus Ohio needs to be done away with legislatively. Okay.
I'm sorry. Does that unreasonably interfere with your Fourth Amendment rights? A light pat down over the clothing just to make sure there are no weapons? Assuming that it can be reasonably articulated that person is armed and dangerous? Because keep in mind, having them step out of the vehicle, and I know I keep saying it, but it's because they keep being wrong about it. This is an attorney! This guy! In 4 states. My God. Listen, They're confused. Having someone step out of the vehicle for officer safety is not the same as patting someone down because you believe they are armed and dangerous. I'm going to keep saying it. If you get upset that I'm repeating it over and over again, I recommend keeping it to yourself and directing it internally. Do not go over there to these two and harass them about it. And just be like, oh, this attorney is wrong. Ugh. And then go learn a bunch about the law so that if you ever get an attorney like this assigned to you, for example, you will not be screwed over. Not that he'll screw you over, but I wouldn't be shocked if he did.
Okay, it's a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. Our Fourth Amendment says you have the right to be.
Oscar Samerbo says, or asks, is stop and frisk okay? That really depends. In a lot of contexts, it's not. New York tried to do that. It came down to the courts, and the court said, buddy, no. You have to be able to really articulate something. So a general stop and frisk, I would not agree. But I will acknowledge there are circumstances where it would be appropriate. I think as a general rule, it is not something to just be willy-nillied, if I may.
Be safe and secure in your person and your effects and your homes. That is a clear violation of Terry versus Ohio. Also, right to be safe and secure in your person and your effects.
Hold on.
Okay, it's a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. Our Fourth Amendment says you have the right to be safe and secure in your person and your effects and your homes.
From unreasonable searches. Unreasonable. A lot of people forget that, and attorneys should not be getting this wrong. You're safe and secure from unreasonable searches, and the courts have determined that it's not an unreasonable search under the right conditions. Moving on.
That is a clear violation of Terry versus Ohio. All done in the name of police safety. No crimes committed. They just, you look like somebody who might have done something.
That's not how that works, no. And that comes back to Oscar saying, do you see the connection to Terry here? Talking about, I believe they're just basically discussing stop and frisk at this point. There's a connection, but that's not, they're now taking something that is not what they're talking about to try to make the thing they're talking about look bad. It's basically a straw man fallacy. Yes, a stop and frisk would be connected to Terry versus Ohio, but it was determined in many cases, for example, in New York, to be unlawful in the way that it was being done. I'm not saying it's not connected. I'm saying that they are wrong about how that works. Chille's Car, thanks so much, says, ever notice you don't see Blue Bacon and Jack Reacher in the same room at the same time? That's because I'm not cool enough to know Jack Reacher, but I appreciate the implication. And Rennie, you are nuts? I'm just kidding. I'll type it to you.
Basically what it is. So please go ahead and proceed. And you guys hit the number 1 button, hit the thumbs up button if you appreciate this. This is PhD level stuff. Go ahead.
So now, if you have to get out of, you ever go through a DUI checkpoint, that's going to be your 1990 case of Sitz versus Michigan State Police. Sitz is going to lose, which is now going to legitimize DUI checkpoints in the United States.
There are a lot of things that legitimize DUI checkpoints in the United States. Having someone step out of a vehicle is not what did it, to my knowledge. There are a lot of cases about DUI checkpoints, and a lot of it comes down to the states individually. And a lot of states are like, oh yeah, we're allowed to do it as long as it's, for example, published in the newspaper beforehand where it's going to be for that checkpoint. Stuff like that. Now he's just bringing in DUI checkpoints like it's super relevant. It's not. I don't know where he's going with that. That's okay. I'm not saying it's disconnected. Tones, hi, good to have you here. I am losing my mind. I'm trying to, so the problem is I'm trying to like remember what all these cases are and then also trying to formulate his argument for him, because his argument is basically just a bunch of buzzwords that he expects you to just get mad about. I'm trying to actually create the argument for him. It's very much like sovereign citizen. I'm not saying he is a sovereign citizen. I'm saying this is what they do as well. And you got to like try to figure out what they're trying to say. Now, Sitz, Mitch, State Police. Let me check that one. I probably read that. Michigan Department of State Police versus Sitz. What do you say it was? Oh, I see. Michigan. I got it. All right. Three-pronged test to determine the constitutionality of a sobriety checkpoint plan involved balancing the state's interest in preventing accidents caused by drunk drivers, the effectiveness of sobriety checkpoints achieving that goal, and the level of intrusion on an individual's privacy caused by the checkpoints. Cool. Yeah, having him step out of the vehicle does not legitimize checkpoints. The argument is whether or not checkpoints in general would be a problem. So I don't think he's read that case fully. Let me check. Do Control F step. Let's see if it references Pennsylvania versus Mims. Don't mind if I do. It does not. That's so weird that it wouldn't reference Pennsylvania versus Mims. Was it reference Terry v. Ohio? It does, though. So, let's see. The court notes the fact that in this class of minimally intrusive searches, we have generally required the government to prove that it had reasonable suspicion for a minimally intrusive seizure to be considered reasonable. See a bunch of cases for Delaware versus Bruce. That's a good one. I've read that one. I don't remember what it was, but I know I've read it. Some level of individualized suspicion is a core component of the protection the Fourth Amendment provides. And then that's the only place Terry versus Ohio is referenced. Just by establishing that there is a class of minimally intrusive searches and that the government has generally been required by the Supreme Court to prove that it had reasonable suspicion for that minimally intrusive seizure to be considered reasonable. Let's see. The majority opinion creates the impression that wait. This is dissent. Oh, this isn't even the ruling. The only place Terry versus Ohio shows up in Michigan Department of State Police versus Sitz is in a dissenting opinion, not in the ruling itself. Oh, it's so satisfying. So satisfying. Yay. Shall we continue? Yes, let's.
Driver's license checkpoints, any kind of checkpoint they want to put up now is from Sitz versus United States. Sitz versus United States is an extension of Terry versus Ohio because the cops have reasonable suspicion that someone out here is drunk driving.
All right, you got to explain to them tell them what this looks like, because we got folks that have no idea what a DUI they don't know.
Oh, but delete laws does, apparently. Okay.
Oh, they cut off the road to one lane. They put all the cars. It's in
God
7 o'clock
them
on
and
Friday
God
night.
bless their
Explain
laws.
it to them. Give it to them like they're.
Now, keep in mind, Chille doesn't believe in DUI checks. He thinks that drunk people are definitely competent enough to just stop themselves, where obviously that's not true because it's not happening. Well, Chille, if drunk people can just not do it, why are they doing it? Wow. It's so weird now that works. It doesn't go. It doesn't work. Anyway, tell us all about it, Chille.
Fifth
So
grade.
here in America, we do it like they did in Nazi Germany.
No, that's not the case. In Nazi Germany, they would just execute you. They don't really do it the same way. So weird.
When they sectioned off the road to try to catch the Jews going through, but
Shut up. Okay, well, that gets a baloney bugle. It's official. Calling baloney on that. Official. You're full of baloney, Chille. You are an idiot. I hate you. Now, this would go back onto its thing.
Any checkpoints like Nazis? If you create a checkpoint, if you're in Costco and they close down a bunch of checkout lanes to one lane and everyone has to go through that lane, it's basically Nazis looking for Jews.
What a dumb piece of logic. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Or don't. I do. It's fine. You don't have to. But you can.
here what
Because I'm not Chille. I will allow it. But you better come with facts.
they're checking for is they're checking your chemical levels. And they're going to see if maybe you have something, alcohol, weed, anything else. Maybe you're on prescription.
Yeah, don't drive while you're under the influence. You're putting people in danger. Oh, it's almost like trying not to kill people's a good thing.
Chille, don't be like, oh, police are killing people. Which is, yeah, okay. We can be mad about that. I'm fine with that. But also, but let's ignore all these people putting others in danger. Come on. I feel like you can't. You got to pick both. If you care about human lives, you got to care about human lives, right? Come on.
prescription pills.
Sorry, I might be getting a little too ridiculous. Oh, zoom. I'll bring it back down.
And if you don't
He's just so dumb.
agree to it, to the testing, then your driver's license will be stripped away from you.
Yeah, it's called implied consent, I believe. So if you get a driver's license, Chille, there are certain rules that you have to agree to.
Now, Chille, he has a history of bad driving. Ooh, so he obviously doesn't believe in the rules, and neither do some of the people in his personal life. I think it's sort of a habit that was imposed upon him, but that's not my story to tell. Maybe. We'll see. Probably not. But I have the information. It's fine. Anyway.
And if you don't agree to the testing and the cop is just suspicious using Terry versus Ohio that just maybe you're on something, then they can do a mandatory blood draw.
Okay, the suspicion does not stem from Terry versus Ohio. That's a pat down for weapons. You stupid idiot. Wow, it's crazy how that works.
Where they'll strap you to a table and stick a needle in your arm and take your blood.
You have to have a warrant for that, unless you consent to it. And to get that warrant, you have to be very intoxicated, at which point you are absolutely a threat to the public. So, cool.
That's it. That's all. That's all.
In the land of the free and the home of the brave, we know that this is not what our founders and those who wrote the Constitution.
No, I'd like to be free from drunk drivers on the streets. Thank you, though, sir. Thank you for speaking for me, you ignorant fool. I would like to be free from drunk drivers. If the government is going to provide me roads to use, I would like those roads to not be full of dangerous people. Thank you very much. It's weird how that just makes sense.
Constitution, and this is not what they envisioned.
It's all
I
made
think we
possible.
Yeah, well, they didn't know what cars were. It's fine. It's fine. We gotta just break it down.
Terry. It's all Terry versus Ohio.
You see, if you guys understand how unconstitutional Terry versus Ohio just from this first 20 minutes, hit the number 1 button.
If you think Terry versus Ohio is unconstitutional, hit number 1. If you think it's not, hit number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the deal. Terry versus Ohio has been upheld since 1968. It's generated quite a significant amount of cases in front of it, and it's based on a significant amount of cases before it. Terry versus Ohio didn't spring out of nowhere. Now, earlier on Friday, we talked about Chille saying that it's just reasonable articulable suspicion. It's just a phrase that the police made up. No, in the 60s, he said. No, it's been around for longer than that. Iowa Hank, you jerk. It's fine. It's all right. It's for a lawyer to be like, it's unconstitutional. Like, it's clearly not, because it's still a thing. It's still being upheld, and like, it's not unconstitutional yet. You can fight it. Yeah, he's real underinformed for a practicing attorney. This is not his area of expertise. So when a lawyer is saying, I'm a lawyer, so therefore I know everything about law, I want you to remember this guy. And remember, he's like an environmental lawyer. His area of expertise is basically environmental law, I believe, with a practice in like personal injury, maybe. Maybe he's good at certain things. He's not good at this. So when someone's like, I'm an attorney, I've been an attorney for this long, I want you to remember this guy. Now, if someone's like, I'm an attorney for 20 years, I would expect them to be good at certain things. I would. I think that is something that you can definitely sort of be like, well, the guy I'm getting my sources from has this kind of history, right? Like, look at that. And I would agree with you on that. But I do want you to remember Blizzard King over here, and that 20 years of law practice, 22 years, does not guarantee that you are competent. It's a good indicator, but clearly it's not a perfect indicator. So, Andre, says unreasonable. That's Fourth Amendment. Fourth Amendment says unreasonable. That doesn't mean any searches or seizures are unconstitutional. Correct. Certain searches and seizures are absolutely constitutional. Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable ones. Now, Blizzard King already got that wrong. He did not include the word unreasonable when he was talking about the Fourth Amendment. He said, you're protected from searches and seizures. Not all of them, dude. Don't know what to tell you. So, it's weird. Hitchback, that's all right. We've only gotten 7 minutes into the video because it's just absolute nonsense. It's just constant nonsense.
If you figured it out, your Fourth Amendment says you have the right to be safe and secure in your own persons. But if some cop who just thinks,
Iowa Hank, I gotcha. I was like, Iowa Hank, I know you. Like, okay, all right.
I have a
How's it going, Kick?
reasonable, articulable suspicion. I can pull you over. I can pat you. I can pat you down if I see you walking down the street.
Wrong.
I can pull you out the car and pat you down for my safety.
In certain circumstances.
I can pull the passenger out the car and pat you down for your safety.
In certain circumstances.
If I think somebody on the highway is drunk, I can create this barrier.
No. If you think a person on the highway is drunk, you can pull them over under suspicion of DUI. If you think that there is a large problem of DUI, you can create a checkpoint where a lot of people are drunk. Not one person, you ignorant moron. If you were like, wow, we have a real problem with DUI in this city, we should create a checkpoint that we're going to open up at 12:30 at night on, 12:30 Sunday morning, right? Everyone's coming home from the bars, and we're going to run that till 3. And we can articulate that there's been an upswing in DUI fatalities, and that's going to justify that. We're going to publish it in the newspaper so that people know it's happening, so they can avoid it if they want to. Boom. It's shocking how that makes sense. Alex Sargent, by the way, thank you. Said he's good at being a BS merchant. I don't even know about that. He's convinced 52,000 people, so maybe. Mark Jones, thank you so much, says, enjoy vacation. Just got here and watched from the start. Aw, heck yeah. I hope so. Oh, I missed this. Zenoan. Thank you, says, Chille's teaching reminded me of Michael Scott trying to teach business to Ryan's college classes. So cringe. Yes. Oh, I missed this one as well. Robin Dahlgren Johnson, thank you so much, says, would you draw your gun before patting him down? No, I would make sure he kept his hands probably on the top of a vehicle. And every time he moved his hands away from that vehicle, like, stop. Well, I don't know if I draw it, but I'd be like, hands back in the vehicle. And if he declined at that point, very possibly, yeah. If he refused instructions, I'd get back up and I'd retreat probably behind the C pillar, and I might unholster because I know he's articulated that he's dangerous certainly to police officers and that he is armed. So I would absolutely retreat until I had back up and possibly unholster. But I'm not drawing down on him necessarily. You got to give me a good reason to do that. I've only done that on someone once, and that they gave me a good reason. We figured it out. We all calmed down. It was fine. Only had to do it once. I'm very okay with that. I've drawn my weapon more than once, but I've only drawn down towards a person in their general direction a single time with an actual loaded weapon that was not like a training tool. So
Here where nobody can drive through, and we're gonna pull you out the car and ask you stupid questions as to how much you've been drinking. And if you don't answer right, or if I think your speech sounds slurred, even though you've been working all day and you're tired as hell, I can pull you out the car, give you
yeah, if you're too tired, it has very similar symptoms to DUI because actually your body. So when you're under the influence of alcohol, for example, your reaction time is gonna be slower. You're gonna make poor decisions. The exact same thing happens when you're tired. There is actually a correlation, for alcohol and then lack of sleep. I've chased people down because I thought they were drunk out of their minds. Turns out they just hadn't slept in like 38 hours. It's exactly the same. It's probably going to fall under reckless endangerment at that point. That is still illegal to drive without enough sleep in a manner that endangers others. So if you're exhibiting symptoms, you're going over that white line, if you're doing all sorts of weird stuff and it's just lack of sleep, I'm not going to get you for a DUI, but I am going to get you for something. There are other crimes that would be. But of course, this attorney doesn't know? Come on.
test called a sobriety test, which is subjective in itself. And if you don't agree to take a breathalyzer,
do it, Winston. Do it. Yes.
I can put you in handcuffs, take you downtown, get a warrant, and then and stick you in the arm and take your blood. This.
No, there is more to it than that. There's still field sobriety test. You have your breathalyzer. You're generally only going to get the needle in the arm if you refuse the intoxilizer. If you do the intoxilizer, well, no, because it could be narcotic. Well, yeah, some sort of substance. You still need a warrant for that, though, if there isn't permission. I think it is Tuesday. Do we want to wrap it up? Do we want to save more of this for later? And just do like a series of I'll throw on an hour, just like, hey, random time. Let's watch another hour of this. do we want to keep going? Because after this, I was planning on just going over to Twitch and doing some games. But I don't know how much of this. I mean, we're going through this very slowly. But it's educational. I'm teaching stuff, I feel. There's so much they're getting wrong. That, you know, I don't know. Want to keep going? Keep going? Keep going? Got it, Rennie. Copy that. We'll go for a little bit more. And then if you guys want to join me on Twitch for some video games, I am in. We don't stop, says Tones. All right. We get going. We're going to, as far as that Discord link, we might put that at the end of the stream. So if you're looking for it afterwards, there you go. Yeah, for those of you wondering about it. Yeah, let's keep going a little bit.
This is in 2022 in the United States.
Michelle, thanks so much.
So think about.
Can you invite this guy on my channel? Oh, I would love to talk to him on my channel and ask him a lot of questions about things he should know. But I don't think he will.
About that.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like it's unconstitutional to delete laws. I don't see why in the United States.
Sounds to you, or you know? You're an attorney in 4 states. I feel like you should know, guy.
All right. So think about that. That sounds to me like it's unconstitutional to delete laws. I don't see why anyone else would see it. But go ahead. The floor is yours. So
Well, you can read the Supreme Court cases, and they explain it. So if you read that, you'd know. But it's okay.
Well, and Uncle D, let me just add to that. There are statistics in this. Just, you know, depends on just if you're going to
So the guy who doesn't know how math works is fine.
get pulled out of the car during that inspection, see if you're drunk, just the lighter you are, the less likely it is. So
what
just
our light-skinned friend is telling us that if you are black,
I'm sorry, what?
them laws is going to be on your ass. That's what he's telling you. That's why I put this up there. The law.
That's an opinion that he can't back up with facts, I'm sure. Your race has nothing to do with whether or not I pull you out of the vehicle. Your actions do. Now, there are certain people of certain races, and we talked about this last time. They create a self-fulfilling prophecy where they assume the police are going to be aggressive because of their race, and therefore they become very defensive before anything's actually happened. And that kind of activity, that if you're nervous, if you're being very defensive, if you're being very aggressive, those are unusual behaviors. And I might ask you to step out of the vehicle if you're exhibiting too many of them, because now I'm worried that you are doing something. I'm not necessarily going to pat you down, but I'm like, hey, man, I feel like you're getting, you know, something's happening. You're real nervous. I'd like you to step out. We can talk like humans to each other. I'll stay, you know, 4 feet away. We'll just communicate. But I'm worried that you're getting a little nervous. I'm worried it may be because of a variety of reasons. I might not explain that. But yeah, if you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy, it may create a situation where a police officer is going to pull you over, is more likely to pull you out of that vehicle. But, as I said on Friday as well, I recognize this in certain people, certain cultures and races, and I try to be a lot more lenient about it and a lot more friendly in certain circumstances where I thought that was the case, where they weren't doing anything necessarily like horrendously wrong, but you know, maybe they're just like, it's the MPs. Like, I get it, we're hated, it's fine, I get it. But yeah, Chille, look at that, smackable face. Don't smack his face. Yeah, I'd like to see him back up any of his claims. But it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay.
Laws are more likely to snatch your black behind out that car and give you a hard time. And this is what I say when I mean it is applied. Like Terry versus Ohio, and these laws on their face, they look like, okay, they're benign. So they're not unconstitutional. They're not discriminatory.
Oh, so now they're not unconstitutional. Cool. Thank you.
But in the way in which they are applied.
Oh, so you change the application, stupid. You put more limitations on it. You hold people accountable. So, Terry versus Ohio now isn't unconstitutional. Great. Thanks for clearing that up. And we're done. I'm just kidding. Now we're going to keep going a little bit. But thank you, Dennis Sperling, for contradicting yourself in about a minute.
In practice, cops are able to discriminate against people of color, poor folk, whatever. You see what I'm saying? And this is what we have to deal with. Go ahead. The floor is yours again, delete law.
And then, you know, New York, when they say stop and frisk, when they say stop and frisk,
Stop and frisk was determined, I believe, to be unconstitutional. Hooray! We fixed that problem. Why are we bringing it up? So weird. Now, I mean, not that you shouldn't bring it up for the context of when good case law goes bad, but, you know, et cetera, when it's used improperly. It's not established that Terry versus Ohio is not legitimate or constitutional.
you know, that's Terry versus Ohio. What they're saying out loud. They're just not calling it Terry, but that's what New York is. So now it's one thing if they're just suspicious of you, if they're treating this is the bullshit.
Am I still on 1.5 speed? Okay, so if you're, I was just like, wow, he's really intense right now. He's at 1.5 speed. In case anyone's like, why is he moving so fast? I'd forgotten. I'm sorry for not pointing that out earlier.
Term of reasonable articulable suspicion. It's 100% based on racism. I'm sorry, but it is.
No, it's actually not. It's 100%. Okay, prove it. Prove it. No proof. No proof. Because his whole grift is about getting people upset about racism. That's his original grift before the black communities that he was interacting with found out that he's incredibly racist, allegedly. He's branded racist, and then he went, ha, I'm going to deal with white people now. Screw you guys. And now the white people are like, bruh, no. So now apparently he's trying to go back to his old stomping grounds to stomp on more black people. Like a Nazi. Weird, we've come full circle. Oh. Is the person who acts like a Nazi accusing other people of acting like a Nazi, Chille? Is that you? I'm not saying you're acting like a Nazi. I'm saying that you have a very low standard of what acting like a Nazi is. And I think you meet your own standard. So why would you call yourself out like that for being a Nazi? Is that what you're doing? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not saying you're a Nazi. Chille, I'm sure you're not a Nazi. I don't think you're a Nazi. It just feels like you're meeting your own standard. And I worry that maybe you think you're a Nazi. Let me know. Just let me know. I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to do here, ever, for anything. You're a very confusing person because nothing you say makes sense. Well, I'd say 100% doesn't make sense, but I'm not going to back up that number because you don't feel that you have to, so why should I?
And so now Terry versus Ohio extends right down here into Cortez versus the United States. Now, it's not just...
Everything's all the Constitution's racist because it allowed us to be a country in 2022, and there's still racism. So the Constitution is racist.
I'm sorry. It just feels like that's the point he's making. I know, a lot of interruptions.
that I'm suspicious of you because I think that you did it. I'm
That's right,
suspicious
Daryl.
of the circumstances of the scene. So, you know, you're walking around here. There was a robbery here last week. The guy was wearing blue jeans. You're wearing blue jeans.
A week ago? That's not going to fly, stupid. That's not how that works. Well, yeah, there was a robber wearing blue jeans here last week, and a blue jean being a very popular garment. I am, in fact, wearing blue jeans right now. For once, I'm actually wearing pants. Usually it's nothing. That's a joke. You can't prove that it is, though. Yeah, something as simple as, oh, you both wear blue jeans. That's not going to do it, stupid. Why don't you know how law works yet? Oh, that's right, because if you actually explain it how it really is, people aren't going to be as upset. You have to lie to them to make them upset so you can get their money. That's a grift! That's what a grift is. He's a grifter. Cool. Glad we established that. Anyway.
The totality of the circumstances.
Totalitarian... Under totalitarian circumstances, it's fine.
Creates my reasonable articulable suspicion in my mind.
Okay, it has to be objectively reasonable. Chille already said before, a prudent and reasonable person has to also feel the same way, but now he's gone against that because it doesn't fit his narrative. Totalitarian circumstances. Oh, it's the totality of the circumstances.
And that's another B. I've used that term so many times when I didn't have
I've also used totalitarian circumstances.
anything else to support my argument, even in the civil practice of law.
Ah, so Dennis Sperling has also used a bunch of nonsense. So Chille's saying that, like, oh, they can just make stuff up. And now Dennis Sperling is saying, oh, I've also made stuff up. If we are to believe Chille's standard of what making stuff up is, Dennis Sperling has just acknowledged that he is doing the same thing that they're trying to call police out for. Do you think that's a good argument? This guy's a lawyer. This guy's, according to him, a trial lawyer. Do you think that's what you want your lawyer to be saying in trial? Making that kind of mistake? I'm not saying you shouldn't hire him. I'm just saying I wouldn't. Alex Sarda, thanks so much. Says, you were military, no pants stand after that. Yeah, you know how field training goes.
So, okay, so delete laws. What's next? Like, what happened after those? What other infringements on your Fourth Amendment rights are flowing through the wall of the door of Terry v. Ohio?
Illinois versus Gates. Illinois versus Gates is a case. What it does is it overturns the Aguilar-Spinelli standard that was created in 1969.
Which is what?
And what Illinois versus Gates specifically does is it says that the police, you know, Aguilar-Spinelli, because it has two prongs. The police, when they got confidential informant information, they had to investigate the confidential informant and also you. Mm-hmm. But then, what Illinois confidential informant information?
Don't know that. I've had confidential informants. I ran a team of them when I was counter narcotics in Germany. What was the case?
In 1969.
No.
And what is it overturned?
Terry v. Ohio.
Illinois v. Gates. V. Gates. Says they have to investigate both. 1983, check the case, U.S. Supreme Court, and we do a search for confidential. Contacted the confidential informant. In Spinelli, police officers observed Mr. Spinelli going to and from a particular apartment, which the telephone company said contained 2 telephones with stated numbers. The officers were also were informed. Gotcha. Sorry, Rennie sent me a thing. Also were informed by a confidential, reliable informant that William Spinelli was engaging in illegal gambling activities at the apartment and that he used 2 phones with numbers corresponding to those possessed by the police. The officer submitted an affidavit with this information to a magistrate and obtained a warrant to search Spinelli's apartment. We held the magistrate could have made his determination of probable cause only by abdicating its constitutional function. The government's affidavit contained absolutely no information regarding the informant's reliability, thus it did not satisfy Aguilar's requirements that such affidavits contain some of the underlying circumstances, not that the informant was credible or that his information was reliable. So that's in Spinelli. He's saying this overturns Spinelli. There's no spoken S in Illinois. Yeah, in Illinois. Sorry. Now I'm doing it because Chille. Illinois. Original phrasing of the so-called 2-prong test, Aguilar versus Texas, just that the 2 prongs are intended simply as guides to a magistrate's determination of probable cause, not as inflexible independent requirements applicable in every case. In Aguilar, we required only that the magistrate must be informed of some of the underlying circumstances from which the informant concluded that narcotics were where he claimed they were, and some of the underlying circumstances. Okay, so this is about when do you trust a report of criminal activity? Not necessarily having to do with, like, okay. Let me find the actual ruling. There's no force to the dissent, or to the dissent's argument of the Gates' actions, unless this. Am I reading it? Concurring. We agree with the Illinois Supreme Court that the informant's veracity, reliability, and base of knowledge are all highly relevant in determining the value of his report. We do not agree, however, that these elements should be understood as entirely separate and independent requirements to be rigidly exact in every case, which the opinion of the Supreme Court in Illinois would imply. Rather, as detailed below, they should be understood simply as closely intertwined issues that may be useful or may usefully illuminate the common sense practical question whether there's probable cause to believe that contraband or evidence located in a particular place. So, it appears to be just a case about, is your informant accurate, and can you trust someone who is an informant to be giving enough accurate information to get a warrant? That's kind of my guess. Let me check just a little bit further. All right, Bloomingdale, Illinois, Thomas tips. It wasn't even a confidential source. It was an anonymous tip. Oh my God. So he's like, oh, you also have to investigate your confidential source, but this wasn't a confidential source issue. This was an anonymous tip. So the question is, can you, I believe, having skimmed the case, I recommend reading it further. It would appear the question is whether or not an unknown anonymous tip is enough to be a believable report of criminal activity. To which the answer apparently is yes, in the context of obtaining a search warrant under the Fourth Amendment. Court found no constitutional violation, argued that the lower court misapplied the test for probable cause, which the court had announced in Spinelli versus the United States. Justice Rehnquist argued that an informant's veracity, reliability, and basic knowledge are important in determining probable cause, but that those issues are intertwined should not. Okay, I just read that part. So apparently the lower courts are like, oh, there's this test, and the Supreme Court's like, well, that test isn't like set in stone for this. So Chille is wrong. He would appear that he has no idea what he's talking about, as per usual, if my very quick assessment of that case is correct. Because keep in mind, how could this be about confidential sources when that case was about an anonymous one? And I saw nothing as I was going through it that would indicate that you also have to investigate your confidential source. Now, I will tell you, having run confidential sources, having had multiple for investigations that I utilized, you have an agreement. At least in my case, you sign with them, you go over it, and say you cannot represent yourself as police, as a member of our department. You cannot engage in any criminal activity. You cannot be in possession of whatever. You cannot find yourself engaging in criminal activity upon which you are reporting on. And if you do, keep in mind you are not an investigator. You do not have, like, you will still be committing a crime. If you do, for whatever reason, find yourself in that situation, make contact with us in some way. We determine how we want to be contacted. And we will give you advice from there. If you feel you will not be able to safely extract yourself from that situation, okay. Then you have an excuse, but you will probably be terminated from the source program. And that source program is often beneficial to the person in it in a variety of ways. Depends on what the circumstance is. So do we investigate our sources? Generally, our sources are criminals. They are people who are like, hey, I got caught up in a thing. I want to report on it. I want out. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, the prosecutor will love this. They will cut you a very good deal or decline to press charges based on whatever. In some cases, if property is recovered, if contraband is recovered, we often provided 10% of the value to the source. So if they reported on, like, hey, this person has $1,000 worth of drugs, they get $100 from the government. If those drugs are worth $1,000, they are seized based on their info they have given us, and those drugs are valued at $1,000. They get $100 from that. Not $100 of drugs. They get a fat not George Washington. That's the $1 bill, isn't it? You get a fat Benjamin Franklin. That's the one, right? Yeah, stuff like that. So not everyone gets that deal, but I don't know what Chille's talking about. Of course, he doesn't elaborate, and maybe I just need to read that case. But Chille, of course, does not give any real information about it. So, also, Chille relies on sources. People give him information that's very, very wrong just to mess with him. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm not recommending that you do that. And he does not check any of them. So, it's just kind of fun. Not that he's the government, not that this really applies to him. It's just fun. Inflation has hit Benny Frank hard. He's a lot thinner these days. Yeah. Sorry, I just get reminiscing old days. Let's keep going. We're getting things very slowly. There's so much to talk about, though. There's so much good information I can share.
Illinois versus Gates. Illinois versus Gates is a case. What it does is it overturns the Aguilar-Spinelli standard.
It doesn't actually overturn it. It just says that it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be applied super strictly.
Was created in 1969.
Oh, and
what Illinois versus Gates specifically does is it says that the police, Aguilar-Spinelli, because it has two prongs, the police, when they got confidential informant information, they
not confidential informant information.
Had to investigate the confidential informant and also you.
That's not what the case said.
But then what Illinois versus Gates did in 1983 is it said...
Oh, I'm sorry. He's referring to Spinelli. Maybe it does say that. I don't know. Hold on. Let's keep going.
Well, the cops can just investigate you. Because once someone says something about you, regardless of Aguilar-Spinelli, that makes me suspicious. I'm suspicious of you. I have reason why to get suspicious about Denny now.
Okay. So, no, okay. I see what he's saying now. I see what he's saying. What he's saying is that Spinelli, before it was overturned, said that police had to investigate the informant. That is not correct. The police, in that case, having read what is quoted from it, it would appear that the police had to establish their source was trustworthy. That does not mean they are also there's not a dual investigation going on. You just have to be able to establish that your source is trustworthy. Cool. Am I saying spit? Because you're right, aren't you, Hitchbot? Yeah. Aguilar-Spinelli.
Aguilar-Spinelli. That makes me suspicious. I'm suspicious of you.
And just because they don't like you, now the cops can go out and pat you down and harass you.
Okay, again, no. That's not how that works. Because if you filed a false report, you have now, in some places, committed a felony. At the very least, probably a gross misdemeanor. So, no.
And heaven forbid, you say, why are you harassing me? Now you're face down on the ground being handcuffed and punched in your back.
You generally don't get punched in your back unless you're trying to fight the officers. Again, a lawyer should know, fight them in court, not on the streets. My God.
Because they get suspicion because somebody told them you did something. Okay, so.
Cool. And then you get to file charges against the person, criminal and civil, probably, against whoever's reporting that. Wow. Oh my goodness, it's so crazy how that works. Because when you call 911, they record that information. You can request that. Now, Chille is all about requesting things. He sells documents for how to request information for all 50 states. I don't know if he does DC. I don't know. So you'd think he'd understand that you can just request that. So his whole narrative doesn't make sense. Do keep in mind, I'm watching this fresh. I have not seen this. So do check my information, because I am sort of like coming back around later and be like, oh, that's what he's getting towards. Got it. But no, Chille, no.
Shout out to all the Karens, but this particular law, let's call that the Karen case, because this is the Karen case that empowers the Karens. Give me that name again so they'll know.
Illinois versus Gates.
Illinois versus Gates is the
Cops
Karen
need
case.
one source. Cops need one source.
One source.
Only two sources. Illinois versus Gates, one source.
One Karen versus one. This is the Karen Ken case. All it takes is one Karen to.
Wait, surrender monkey, what? Custom bulletproof vests, those military helmets shoved down your top, make it. You're gonna have to elaborate on what that means.
Get your ass hemmed up by the police. This is where we are. Go ahead.
If a dog barks,
God.
remember how you can be arrested. No
What?
warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause. So
What are you saying that you can be arrested if your dog's barking? Yeah, it's generally not how that works. It's usually a civil fine, unless he's talking about if a dog hits on a substance, like a drug dog. They don't usually bark. It's usually like a sit. They often go into a sit as their marker that there's something. Raven Darkstar asks, would I redact 95% of your CI's arrest report, or would that only happen if they turn state's evidence? I would not redact. I would generally not redact much. I would redact their statement. Their arrest report, not necessarily. There may be a circumstance where I would. I don't know that I ever did. I redacted a lot. I don't know if it was their arrest report. It depends on how we got them. If they came to us, there would be no arrest report. If we found them, we flipped them. We might redact it if nobody knew they had been arrested. If it was known they had been arrested, if their buddies knew, we would not redact it. But we would not put their affidavit and their rights advisal form and all of that into the case. That would be kept in a separate case that would be under lock and key, that only myself and one other person would have access to. And then they would be referred to in the case from there on, which would not be accessible while the case was active, as a number, basically. And then the number that ties them to that name would be in that filing cabinet that is locked in a secure room, basically. So their arrest report, not necessarily. I could see it happening. I don't know that I ever did that, though. Yeah.
Supported by oath or affirmation. Extension of Terry versus Ohio, reasonable articulable suspicion. If a dog barks, it upgrades to probable cause.
Wow.
You can be arrested because the dog barked, because
What
that
dog?
is now probable cause standard of dog barking.
What dog for what? Okay, you got it, Chille. You got to elaborate, because that's almost certainly... Okay, we got to look this up. I'm sorry. 2013 Florida v. Harris. Am I not audible? All right, so it is about dog narcotic certification. The dog alerted. Alert usually means sit, although it depends on how you train the dog. So if Chille's saying the alert was the bark, I would actually be surprised if that was the case, because dogs bark. Let's see if bark is in the case. Bark is not in the case. No, it's just alert. It never explains what alert. So Chille doesn't know how narcotic dogs work. That's good. That's good to hear. That's great. Well done. Just alerted. Yeah, so it'll be like sit and look at the handler, something like that. I mean, it could be something like paw up, you know, like I'm pointing, like a pointer. I don't know. I don't know if they do that. I'm not saying you couldn't train a dog to bark as an alert. I will tell you, I've never seen that, and I've dealt with a lot of dogs. Never been a dog handler, but I've worked alongside a lot of dog handlers, and that was never the case. Now that was military, so maybe they just train it differently. But I've dealt with civilian police dogs as well, not to nearly the same amount. Usually a sit. It's fine. So Chille doesn't know that case either. That's fine.
So hold on, let me lay this. So the dog said you did it in dog language, and the
Well, dogs are really good at smelling narcotics, buddy. It's crazy how their noses are better, and you can train them to behave a certain action upon recognition of the odor of the substance that the human nose cannot detect, as well as a dog's can. Weird how that obviously works. Like, oh, now we can't use binoculars because they allow you to see farther than the human eye can? Huh. Although in some cases, well, like thermal vision, not so much, but binoculars, yes, you can. It's stupid. There are certain circumstances where you cannot use a dog. Chille is not addressing that, at least not yet.
the police officers interpret, well, the dog must have saw something, or otherwise the dog wouldn't bark. Heaven forbid. We know dogs don't bark unless.
Well, the case never said the dog barked. Chille is wrong again. Rennie is saying that she can confirm civilian dogs are generally not trained to give an audible alert because that's ridiculous because dogs will bark. I feel like this just makes sense.
Unless they see crimes being committed.
Right.
Okay, they smell the odor of a substance, which is the possession of which is a crime. It's a lawyer should know this. This guy should understand how dogs work, I feel. Am I wrong to think that? I don't know.
This is what Terry versus Ohio has done. I want you guys to really understand.
That's not what Terry versus Ohio has done. Terry versus Ohio is a pat down for weapons, not a sniff for narcotics. Stop it.
Terry versus Ohio. This is why, like, when I first
Detention, reasonable articulable suspicion, and police detentions were a thing prior to Terry versus Ohio. It's the pat down that was kind of untested at a federal level. It was used in the states, in a variety of states, not necessarily fully approved at the federal level. That's what Terry versus Ohio was. Not, can police detain you? No. And Terry versus Ohio is not a search for narcotics. It is absolutely, it's a search for weapons. It's the least intrusive search. It's a pat down for weapons, not narcotics. If you got a box of weed, I don't know. If you have a jar of weed on federal property, let's say, because it's illegal on federal property, and I'm patting you down, I feel that jar, and I'm like, ooh, that feels like a jar of weed. I can't articulate that if the jar is full of weed because I can't see it. It might just be a jar. I can't then go into your pocket unless I'm like, but there's a knife next to it. And even then, I probably can't pull out that bottle unless I can't get to the knife without removing it, at which point, if I remove it, I have to be able to articulate that I had to remove it. So I don't know what to tell you. We have Hitchbot. We have verified he is an actual attorney. We made it 13 minutes in. Oh my God, there's so much to correct. We're gonna keep talking about this guy. I'm gonna end it here. I'm gonna head over to Twitch. If you guys want to join me, I'll give you a link to that. We're just gonna have a good time. It's gonna be great. I'm just gonna play some video games. If there are other people streaming, it's all them, baby. But if you go too, and give me like 5 minutes to set up. Twitch.tv/Sergeant Blue. Bacon and Rennie, if you wouldn't mind popping that link down for, the old Discord. Shh, don't tell anybody though. Let me see. Bam. Chille's upset because Canine not only detected this GHB, the canine pissed on Chille's leg and then sat down. All right, so yeah, give me like 5 minutes. I'm gonna head on over there and start up a game. I don't know. I might play some more Holdfast Nations at War. I love me some Holdfast. Unless you guys are feeling something else, let me know. Give me like, I don't know what games I've installed. All right, do we want War Thunder? Or do we want some Holdfast? I don't know what we're feeling. What was that noise? Tony the Dubs and Avlaraz. I assume those are some people in here. Thank you so much. And Hitchbot, thank you so much as well as this. He is one ball of red string away from Charlie. Pat's Cats, thank you for being a member, by the way. And the one land, I don't know if I thanked you for the donation. Or Alex Hodgson, I might have missed thank you on that one as well. When you said you were military, no pants. But hey, thank you guys so much. You guys are wonderful. It's always great to talk to you. The problem is I can't get used to, I can't only do streams because, and I want to, because it's so much fun talking to all of you and just going on my tangents, not having to be like, write script, keep it linear, which is better content, I know. But you know how it be. One for the future trivia murder party. Ooh, that does sound like a good time. All right, I'm seeing War Thunder. And that's it. That is it. I guess we're doing War Thunder. Oh, no. Shame. All right. I'm going to head over there. Give me just a few minutes. I will see a bunch of you later. And for those of you who join me here, hey, thank you so much. You're all wonderful. Can't wait to talk to you. I might do this again tomorrow. I don't know. We might go over Chille's rant. I don't know if we'll probably go back to him talking to this lawyer because it's good educational shenaniganry. I'm seeing War Thunder. So, see you guys later. For those of you who are joining me on Twitch, hey. Pew, pew, pew. Rennie, do we have the link to the old Discords popping up? Because I can pop it in if you haven't. I'm going to pop it in. Let's see. All right, hold that thought, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to say, bam. And we're doing that. And we're doing the, oh no! You already did it? Oh, I've also done it. Oh no! Okay. It's only good for an hour and only for a certain amount of people. So, see you guys later. Till the next time, etc., etc., etc. Be good. Stay safe.